Hey guys, it's Melissa with Lare Garden Center, and I have Sarah behind the camera with me today.
Hey everybody.
We are going to show you how to make one of these beautiful holiday centerpieces to dress up your table for the holidays with beautiful fresh evergreens and some holiday picks. So we have some kits on our website at tedsgardens.com where you can actually buy a kit, take it home, and we're going to show you how to put it to use. So I'm going to start with showing you what might actually come in your kit that you purchase with us. If you decide to get this kit, you're going to get this beautiful birch pot that you can use. You can reuse it from year to year. It has a plastic liner in it, and it will come with some what we call oasis or floral foam in it. This will be dry when you first get it, but you actually want to soak it in a tub of water prior to using. It sucks up all the moisture, and it will help keep your greens stay longer, wet longer and greener longer into the holiday season. So your kit will come with some of that. It will also come with a mixture of different evergreens. They can really vary a little bit, but I'll show you some of the common stuff that you might find in your kit. This is some boxwood that we have in there, some incense cedar, which is the stuff with the little golden berries on it. White pine is always a favorite of mine. And then it could have some other varying things like some Port Orford cedar that we have there, or some noble fir. So it could come with a little bit of different stuff, but that would be some of the main greens that your kit might have in it. It's also going to come with a few little different holiday picks. So you might have some pine cones or berries that you're going to add in. So those would be some of the things. Oh, and a pair of gloves. So I'm normally not a glove girl, but these things are sticky and messy. I highly recommend the gloves because it will help your hands stay cleaner, and it's actually kind of hard to get that pine sap off. So I do recommend using the gloves that come in your kit. Some things that you might need from home would be a pair of wire clippers and a pair of pruners. So if for some reason you do not have these things at home, if you have a pair of utility or really tough kitchen shears, you can use that on most of the greens. Some of them might be a little bit harder, but those are some things that you'll want to add in from home and have handy as we start to make this beautiful centerpiece. So I'm going to start by showing you how we begin to create this form. We want to have our oasis in there. It doesn't have to be like beautifully pieced. You're not going to see it. The whole purpose is just to stick our stems in there and make sure they stay green. So you can see I have all kinds of chunked up little pieces in there. They're not really even. It doesn't matter. You're not going to see it. It's just going to hold our greens in place. So the first thing that I like to try to do when I'm going to start making one of these is to take my branches and I cut them down into smaller pieces. I do want to think about a couple of things when I make this pot. I want to think about if it's going in the center of my table and I can see it from all directions. This one I made to be like that. You can kind of see it looks pretty from all directions. So if this is going in like the middle of my kitchen table or my kitchen counter, I would want to make it like that. And we start with the tall in the center. And so we're going to start tall and we're going to work shorter to the edges. If it's something that I'm going to put up like maybe against a wall and I'm only going to see it forward facing, we would start with the tall piece in the back and work our way shorter to the front. So hopefully that makes sense. But the first thing I'm going to kind of do is start to size up like how big I want it. So that might be a little bit tall if I was to go that crazy. I usually recommend about 2 times the height of your container. So if we took this, like maybe right in there is a kind of a good spot. So like double the size of our container. The shorter you make it, the fuller it will look. The taller you make it, the more sparse it will look. So think about that too. It gets harder to fill in pieces as you make it taller. I usually will look at this beautiful noble fir as some of my centerpieces. I'm going to just start to trim some of these lower branches off, and I'm going to use all these pieces as I go along, but I'm going to cut some of those off. And I've got this one that I actually want as a nice centerpiece. I'm going to cut it down though because I still feel like it's kind of tall. And that's still a little on the tall side, so I think I'm still going to cut a few more of these off. Give that one more fresh trim. And that's what I would say for any branch that you stick in here. You want to make sure it has fresh trim on it. It will help your pieces stay greener longer through the holidays. And you can see I'm kind of peeling off these needles because I really want our stems to be clean when we put it into this oasis or floral foam. You'll just get better coverage and footing on it. It also makes it just stay in there a little bit better. So I recommend doing that. You also want to think about when you put into this floral foam, not taking things in and out too many times, as it will start to crumble and break apart on you. So kind of have a general idea and try not to pull out. It's not to say that you can't pull pieces out, but try not to do it too much. And so I'm going to kind of just create a little bit of a center, and I'm creating these from all different sizes, kind of different dimensions, so we have a nice rounded looking like centerpiece. You can kind of see that I'm starting to build my center. I'm just building it with that noble fir to start with, and then I'm going to add some other evergreen pieces in. So I'm building a little height in there. So you kind of see how that's starting to come together. I would next probably grab, and you don't have to do this in my order that I'm doing it, but I am just showing you how I typically do things. But anything goes, rhyme or reason with this. This is our Port Orford. I'm going to cut some of these branches off, and I'm going to use those in some centers just to give a different color and texture. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop that right in there into my center. It gives it a little bit more height and a little bit more texture. Just like that. Is it starting to look better, Sarah? Starting to come together a little bit?
Yes, it is.
Anything wonky you can see that looks silly right now?
It's looking pretty nice.
Not yet.
From this angle.
So I'm kind of just tucking these pieces in as I go around, a little bit at a time, until I've built like what I feel like is a pretty good center. The next step that I like to do is actually, I like to skip and kind of do my, what I call weepy edge. And so I don't know if you can show this one that's finished, but I have all kinds of different textures and kind of a weepy edge that is covering my edge, so I can't see where it's empty like we can right now. Our goal is not to see any of this oasis that we have tucked in there, and just create kind of this flowy edge. And my two favorite evergreens to use for that is a white pine, which is kind of this feathery looking stuff here, and then the incense cedar with the berries on it. And so I'm just going to start to cut some pieces of that and start to tuck that into my edge. And I'm just snipping away here, creating lots of little pieces. And I'm going to show you how I kind of just start to tuck some of these right here. So if you can see that little weeping edge, I'm going to tuck a variety of things to give some different color and texture. A little bit of this incense cedar, just to get me some different things in there. And a lot of times I will even tuck in some of my Port Orford cedar pieces too, just for another layer of color or texture in there. It's all about just layering, in my opinion, when it comes to working with evergreens, and just having lots of different colors and pretty in there. And so I'm just going to keep layering those pieces, and I will start to kind of build up towards this other edge, or towards those center pieces, until we start to fill that in. And then I just keep spinning it around and around, adding more as we go. So I'm just going to kind of spin around as I go, a little bit at a time, and keep filling. And one of my other favorite fillers, which I haven't touched on yet, is this beautiful boxwood. I love this because it is a different color, a little bit different color of green, and the leaves look a lot different. So if you look at how this like pops into here, it really fills that space nicely, adds a different layer of dimension or color, which I think is really what starts to make this look beautiful in the end. And I'm going to pop in a few more things there just to kind of show you how things start to fill out. So see how that's coming together, looking pretty good. Does that hopefully make sense? Anything you would add to that at all, Sarah? Like as far as like directions for people of how to fill it in?
I feel like you've covered it pretty well.
Okay.
I will say that I like the use of the Port Orford cedar in the weeping portion, just because it ties into the part that you have as your thriller there, the tall part.
Yep, so we call this tall part the thriller. That's a good point, Sarah. And then we call this weeping part the spiller, and then this is kind of our filler as we start to fill in those holes. And you're just going to keep plugging in until you are satisfied with how everything has been filled in your container. And hopefully at the end you have a product that looks very similar. I'm going to clear this off a little bit to this finished product over here, which will show you. So on this one here, and you can see my plain greens. If I do it a good spin, everything's filled in. I don't really see any like big holes that are glaring. I've also taken some of these holiday picks, which I'm going to show you how to put these in. They're super easy. Most of these have like a wire stem on them that poke in really easy to the floral foam, and you literally just like tuck them right in. And so pretty darn easy to do that. I've also have some pine cones, which I've put a little wire piece on. So I've just taken a little bit of floral wire, and I wired it around my pine cone, and I'm going to stick that right in here too, so that I can add a little bit natural touch to it. This part right here, you can get as blingy as you want. So some of us love a lot of sparkle for the holidays. Some of us love gold, silver, white, you know, even a purple or blue. We all have different colors we like. So I encourage you to find little accents. Your kid will have some things in there, but if you like different colors, find different accents. You can definitely forage for pine cones outside too. That's something that I always find fun to do with my kids. So we always go looking for different things that we can add to our holiday centerpieces outside, as it's a little bit more fun for them to go looking for things. And then we have a finished centerpiece. So that's basically how you make it. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about care and how you take care of it. So to keep it nice and green through the holiday months, there are a couple of things that you'll want to do. You'll want to make sure you're checking your oasis to make sure that it's got some water or moisture. You can also feel by the weight. So I encourage, as soon as you get done, to give this a good drink. Take it to your kitchen sink, put some water into it, or use a watering can, and make sure that you're feeling that for weight. So you can feel the oasis with your hands to see if you feel moisture. Just knowing how heavy it is from the first time that you have water in there will help you determine too. The other thing you can do when you're inside the house is to give those greens a little bit of a spritz with a spray bottle and keep the water nice and moist on the greens. That will help it stay greener longer. And then we also, there's a product called Wilt Proof, which is kind of like a waxy product that you spray onto your greens that will help lock the moisture in and help them stay greener longer too. So you can use it on things that you're creating for the holidays, whether they're inside or outside. If you decide to go this route, just make sure you're spraying in somewhere like the grass or somewhere like that. This stuff is waxy. It can leave a coat on your brick or on your siding, things like that. So I do recommend that you do this outside in a space that you don't really care about until it dries. Once it's dried, it's pretty foolproof. You don't need to worry about it once things have dried. But that's another tip. And then keeping it out of sunlight, and the cooler the better. But if it's in our home, it's usually warm. And so just some of those tips I shared will help it stay looking green longer. So is there anything that you think I've missed at all, Sarah, that I need to tell them about?
I think you've got it covered pretty well.
Okay, perfect. Well, if you guys have any interest, check out our kits on our website at tedsgardens.com. We have kits for the birch pot classes, as well as plenty of other holiday things like a fresh evergreen wreath, holiday porch pot, and then we'll have more of those kits coming out as we go into the spring months too. So thanks for watching today. Reach out on any of our channels if you have any questions, and we'll catch you next time.